Hi, welcome to another video on my Arduino Yun with electronics. Last time I tried to get another motor running in this part of the circuit and it didn't do anything. I did reprogram my stuff to get it clear that when this LED is burning, this is not, and this will always go, just because of the nature of the circuit. But what it is about is this part. Now some other experiments using both Arduino but also Raspberry Pi showed that another motor may be successful. And that motor is this XS motor, which should be running on 9 volts, but since my other Arduino experiment is not 9 volt but 5 volts, and it runs and it can be controlled, then there is a very good chance that this one will work on here as well. And to make that absolutely sure, I put a propeller on it and I connect it. Now it doesn't matter how I connect it, so let me do just like this. Hopefully it will be balanced somehow. If not, I have to find some trick. But anyway, this should be the way to go. Now it is programmed already, and right now it doesn't do anything, and that is because I have to give some input to the serial monitor. So that is the next thing I'll do off screen. Open the serial monitor and see what happens. And give it quite some characters in. Send, and then something, if alright, should happen, which it doesn't. And the number of characters is already gone. So it does work, but the motor doesn't do anything. So what I may do is a little test if this may be something. You never know. The whole point is that the only potential difference you should have is between here and here, between two wires. So if the potential difference between the output of the transistor is not large enough to the plus, then I'll take the minus and see what happens then. So, and now it doesn't do anything. So I put it back. So the question now is, why doesn't it do anything while with other experiments it does work? So that is now a very good question. Also, this red LED stays working, this too. Let me try it one final time. pressing send. And one more time in here. Unfortunately, there's no sign of any working of this motor now. So there must be a thinking error in the circuit somehow. So that's my next step. What do I do wrong in the circuit? So now that the motor is not running, oops. Okay, this should do it. Now the motor is not running, it is time to measure some voltages again. So let's see something. First of all, without the software running, although this LED is clearly burning. So let's see what effect it has. It's measuring nothing. That isn't much, needless to say. Well, here, that is strange. This is the plus. Okay, this is 5 volts. That is good. Here it is 0.26 to 0. Not much. So what happens if I measure something while the software is while there's some input? So I am trying to get a probe on there. Let me use this one. Hope it stays that way. And it says now 3.28. This one is going loose, but is supposed to be in here. This one should be either in the plus or in the minus, in the ground. So let's go to the terminal, give some input. A lot of input. Send. And pressing the switch gives 3 volts. I keep pressing the switch, it goes up to 3 volts. So that definitely is enough to keep the motor running, as has been proven. I need more characters. Then what is the potential difference between the output and the minus? This probe is on a minus, so what I better do is measure here somewhere. So I remove this, start measuring here, and send, and see what happens. This is nothing. I press the switch, still nothing. This is not what I expect. Then measuring on the transistor, which should be the same, and it is. So I'm measuring the difference between ground and whatever is on here, and even this voltage is not really high, 0.25 now, but the question is, how can that be? Is this resistor causing it? In that case I should remove this this resistor, put this wire in here and see again. Again, a lot of characters, sand, put the probe and see whatever happens. Alright, that's not much. The only thing I can do now to see if there is some difference is use the analog multimeter. See if that makes a difference, because that needle is moving more slower than this digital one. Let's do that. So, although the digital multimeter is more accurate where it comes to decimals, this one is slower, so if there's any movement you can see it. So, some more characters, quite a lot of them. And yes, I do that off camera. So, measuring. Yeah, right. This is not correct. I see the voltage going down, and that is very odd, to say the least. Is that because of the character being down or whatever? Alright, let's do it again. Quick a probe. Well, with characters it doesn't do a thing. And let's measure here. Not a thing either. Here doesn't do a thing. How come? Even that LED is not doing anything. So this is something I don't get. Apart from this wire being out, but that is not of influence on this part of the circuit. So, one more try. Measuring right, yeah, where? Here. It gives absolutely nothing. So the voltage is quite off, you could say. Here, nothing. You can also say that this wasn't correct. Alright, general mass was off. And that's a disadvantage with a lot of wires. Okay, going again. So what does it do now? Alright, 1 volt, more or less, which means that this is 1 volt as well. Now you can see what the needle did. So why does it do that? Why does it work on the other Arduino and not on this one? I think that is a very good question. I need to see the code. Because this voltage is even too low for this type of motor. Quite annoying actually, but it is the way it is. So yeah, code time. So there is something wrong maybe with the voltage, but how can I prove that? Well, for starters, I have here an output value which is 750 hard coded. What does it do with output pin 3? And I think that is the problem. Because here it just says, alright, let me write it out with this. So the question is, which value to use? Should I use a potmeter to read it and to steer it out? I am going to change this value to 1024. Oops. Hard coded. And see what it gives. Although this was given to the voltage that I measured. No, to the number that I measured from the switch, because that didn't go higher than some 200 and 400, I seem to recall. So this value should be an analog version. Before that, let's get this working with this value, see whatever happens. If this is no change, I may have to reconstruct the whole circuit. Alright, this is done. And now let's see off screen what it does. Connection reset. I need to restart the monitor. Again, a lot of the characters. The L, by the way. Then starting and probing on the same place, pressing the switch, and yes, it goes higher. It goes to 2 volts now. But I need to stabilize the motor a little bit. Yeah, and that was it. Alright, so a higher value does give a higher voltage. May seem logical, but who knows. Send again. Yes, it balances between 1 and 2 volts. But the motor doesn't. Now it goes slightly over 2 volts. A lot over 2 volts, because now I'm pressing and releasing the switch more often. Over 3 volts now. And even now the characters are off. Pressing gives over 3 volts, but the motor doesn't do anything. So I change the wiring a bit and putting one wire for the motor into the plus. One more try. And once again measuring. What does it do? I am measuring a lot now. Actually too much. But the motor still doesn't do a thing. So that's not good. That's not good at all. Rethinking again. Now what I can do, of course, is make some kind of a trick, and that is reading this as such that instead of analog potmeter I use just one resistor, and I can use more resistors to manipulate and to mimic a potmeter. So what I'm going to do is just that. Then the question is, of course, how will this be? This will be then not an analog value, but it will be this won't be a digital value, but an analog value. So I will have to read it. This is now digital in, and that will become let's see, sensor value. Well, that already is what it is, analog pin 0, but I have still to adjust the circuit to it, so this will remain there. And then whatever value that will be. So I'm very curious what this value will be, sensor value. Will the depending on that, everything will change. No longer 1 and 0, but something measurable. So apart from that, nothing will have to change. Output value will still be there. I might also give sensor value in there, since this is from that old code. So then I will change this. So now I will read from A0, output value 1, which is used right here will come from that value. What I have to do now is make sure that it is actually happening. Right now it is not reading anything at all. So one resistor placed, going from the plus to one hole, and I just need one wire to connect from the hole to A1. Which wire will we take? Choice is easy. That's a bit short wire. Will this do? Won't this do? Alright, it's wired. Let's see what happens. Uploading. Right. Yep, I have to restart this. And there you go, console not available. Well, that can be dealt with. A lot of characters. Send. Auto scroll off. Switch is 1023. Oh, that's interesting. So quite a high value. And if I put some resistors in series, it will change, and in parallel it will change too. So now I have the 1023 value, which means either everything or nothing. So let's do that. That's interesting. And now I'm curious what will happen to the circuit. So at the moment this switch is no longer red. It is one resistor from the plus to whichever, then with the wire that previously was here is now to A0, which reads, as you could see on the serial monitor, is 1023. So what remains is giving input to the serial console and then see if this motor is finally going to run or not. So I'm giving a lot of input. And see what happens. If anything happens. Not so much. Yeah, right, because I forgot to put the 1023 value into the code. Oops. Change, upload. And then of course I have to put in characters again. So not much happening. And if I change this wire to minus, nothing. And keep in mind that this wire has to stay in one piece. On the other hand, if you watch my Mega 2560 videos as well, you may notice that that the other wire, that one wire is here to the transistor and one wire is in the plus, and then it runs, but you see it's not. And let's add some characters again. Go for it. What does it do? Totally nothing. The LED burns. That's great. For the rest, absolutely nothing at all. So, nice idea, but so far no positive result yet. I know the motor works, but the circuit has some failing points, unfortunately. This means that this is certainly going to be continued. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel, or watch Instagram or Twitter if you don't want to subscribe. What I did, use a different motor, rewire something, recode, and so far no real result in that the motor runs. Once again, to be continued. Bye bye.